I've been buying and selling drums on the internet for well over 10 years now, and in that time I've had some incredible deals, but I've also been stung more times than I care to admit. And in this video I'd like to share with you some of those stories in the hope that they may one day save you from being stung when you're buying second-hand drum stuff on the internet. And to top it all off, last week I bought this drum kit sight unseen, and we're going to be setting it up throughout the video to show you guys what not to do when buying second-hand drums online. This is, as you can see, a 5-piece kit. And it's got some of the worst drum cases that I've ever seen, being that they don't have any handles on them, which I thought was an odd choice. This is the first time I've opened this case, by the way. Oh, there we go. Oh no, these really are the worst cases in the world, aren't they? Here's an old Pearl export kit. So, badly designed cases aside, what things do you really need to look out for when you're buying second-hand drums on the internet? Well, primarily for me, the thing that's always caught me out more than any other thing has always been the cymbals, and we're going to get into what's in that cymbal bag in just a moment. Let's have a look at this 13-inch tom first of all. Oh no. Oh no, that's not very good. I think it may have disintegrated somewhat. So what do you need to look out for then with the cymbals? Well, the first thing is going to be cracking. Now I do know for a fact that one of these cymbals is cracked, and well, it's this scimitar here. Quite a big crack. Now in the description of this kit it did not say anything about cymbals being cracked. I mean, in this kit it didn't actually really say much at all. It just said with some Zildjians and Sabians. It turns out actually it's one Sabian and some Zildjians, so again, not really listed very well. Now one thing that I've started doing recently, which I found extremely helpful, is to message the seller and specifically ask about the condition of the cymbals. Are there any cracks? Are there any dents? Or is there any keyholing or spidering going on around the bell of the cymbal? Remember, not everybody who's selling a drum kit isn't in fact a drummer. They may be selling it on behalf of a friend or a relative or something like that. They may have got it in a house clearance, so they may not be looking for this kind of stuff. They don't know that it's actually going to be really important to the setup. So this gives them opportunity to tell you the truth or to recheck themselves things that they may have actually honestly missed. Last week I bought a Pearl Masters kit. I paid over 1,500 quid for it. It was going to be the most expensive kit I've ever bought for the channel. And before I set off on a 6.5-hour round trip, because it was right on the coast, miles away from my house, I actually messaged the seller and said, are the cymbals all okay? And what he sent me back was a photograph of the bottom hi-hat. The bottom hi-hat, the one that doesn't get hit, and it was totally cracked, like really badly. It just made me think, if that's the condition of the bottom hi-hat, the rest of the cymbals are probably not going to be in great condition. And I actually ended up cancelling the order because I just couldn't take the risk on it. It was a risk as it was, being so much money, and I actually ended up deciding against the kit. Now we'll look at the rest of the cymbals when we're setting up the rest of the kit, but let's open this snare drum case, shall we, and see what lurks beneath. Now I'll be honest, I have actually had a quick look at the snare drum. I even did a video on TikTok about it. I know, that's how cool I am. I've got 400 followers now. There we go. Chrome snare drum, is it a 14 by 6.5 maybe? You know what? It's in pretty good nick, I would say. At least the skins are, you know, intact structurally. Now, one thing I will say, buying kits online, is if you really can, try not to let the person that you're buying the kit off know how far you're travelling. If they know that they've got you over a barrel when you get there because you've driven for 3 hours, then you're far less likely to be able to negotiate on things like cymbals being cracked. I had this exact thing happen to me in Swansea a few years ago. I bought it on eBay. I'd paid about 650 quid if I remember, and it was, you know, not a cheap kit. And I got to Swansea and the guy says to me, oh yeah, the kit, it's in that shed over there. And I was like, great. And I go into the shed and sure enough the kit is covered in cobwebs, not too much of a big deal, but all of the chrome is pitted beyond what they'd said it was by far. Cymbals were cracked, a lot of cymbals were cracked, skins were ruined, you know, all this kind of stuff, hardware very rusty. And he basically just shrugged his shoulders at me and said, well, do you want it or not? I ended up basically just making my petrol money back on it. It was a total waste of time. I should have inquired more and I should have studied the photos more. Make sure that you really have a good look. Look for things like the wrap being cracked. Look for things like dents on a chrome snare drum. You know, extra drill holes around the butt end or around the throw off or anything like that. It's so worth doing, especially if you have to travel. But do not let them know that you're traveling unless you really have to do it. Now, I had a really strange one recently when I actually bought some cymbals from an auction, like a proper auction, not an eBay auction, but like an auction house auction. A friend of mine messaged me and said, did you hear about the drum shop that's closed down? They're auctioning off like 200 grand's worth of stuff. So I go on this auction site and he was like, yeah, everything finishes in an hour. And they were auctioning off all of their stock. Sorry, I just opened the base drum case. There's loads of like old towels in it that are a bit yellow. No, 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 no. Wow, no spiders yet, come on. Oh, I think that's a dressing gown, isn't it? I don't know why I sounded so excited about that. I mean, it looks alright, isn't it? Looks alright. Is this a 90s kit, probably? So anyway, I'm making an account anyway on this site. I start bidding on basically everything I can. There were like 9 Mapex Black Panther snare drums, and I think I bid on all of them. Anyway, it comes down to it, and I win 2 pairs of hi-hats and a Thomas Lang signature crash cymbal. So a friend of mine who's also been in the auction, I say, would you mind awfully picking up those cymbals for me? He phones me after he collects the stuff and says, by the way, you know those 2 pairs of hi-hats that you bought? You know there were single hi-hats, not pairs. And I'm like, come again? Basically, it turns out that although the description and title said hi-hats, the photos only showed a single cymbal in each one. So that's what you get. Buying from a normal auction site rather than eBay, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't cancel it and say, you know, item was not as described or anything like that. Very important to make sure you know exactly what you're getting at an auction. Before I tell you about my biggest blunder, which involved being scammed out of many, many pounds, I just want to reveal that the winner of the last competition, which was for the Pearl Eliminated Demon Drive pedal, was Isaac Ferry. So thank you so much to all of the ticket holders and to the channel members as well. If you'd like to find out how you can win some cool drum stuff, then make sure you stick around till the end, and I'll be talking about an exclusive members only competition for which there are a set of cymbals up for grabs. And if you're wondering what that drum kit is behind me there, well, you're just gonna have to subscribe because that's going to be an upcoming video, and it sounds absolutely unbelievable. The biggest problem that I've ever had buying stuff online has actually happened this year, and that was when I bought some microphones, which I talked about in a video that came out a few months ago. I bought what I thought, or what I hoped, let's say, were a set of Neumann KM184 condenser microphones. This guy was selling them, who clearly had no other musical equipment for sale, but instead he was selling things like, you know, children's horse riding helmets, smoke tail lights from a BMW 5 Series, you know, all the usual kind of legitimate microphone salesman things. Now when they arrive in their, you know, not amazing packaging, I start to worry a little bit. In fact, I'd started to worry effectively as soon as I'd hit buy it now. A few days after I'd bought mine, I see the seller, who only had, I think it was 2 previous sales on his eBay account. He'd listed another set of KM184s for just like a little bit more than I'd paid, with exactly the same photographs. And it kind of made me think that maybe he has a big stockpile of these fakes. And they looked really, really good. In my video, I basically play them, I test them out, I conclude that I think that they are in fact real. So I get this email from a guy called Charles in Belgium, and he actually owned a set of KM184s and KM183s, and he said to me, these are in no uncertain terms fakes. And he sends me photos of his microphones, and he basically lists, you know, very meticulously all of the things that are wrong with the ones that I've got. The body colour was wrong, the kind of texture, it was like a satin rather than a matte. The badge was wrong, the box was wrong, the foam in the box was wrong, the clips were wrong. He said to me, message eBay, I send them back to the seller. But before that, I have a threat from the seller. And he actually texted me, and because I was working away abroad, he wouldn't let me text back. He basically thought I was trying to rip him off and like just keep the mics, which I wasn't. And he sent me a text and said, I know where you live. And it was like, this isn't what I wanted at all. Buying secondhand microphones, I think, is the biggest minefield on any used musical equipment. I really believe that. And I know there's no hi-hat felt, by the way. I'm not going to be playing it like this. I really believe that unless you can go and see the mic rather than have it posted to you, and unless you really know what you're buying, then I don't believe it's worth the risk. You don't want to end up with fakes because they're going to be worthless. And with those Neumanns that I thought I bought, you know, I thought they sounded actually really nice. And somebody said to me, well, why don't you just keep them? Does it matter that they're not Neumanns? And I was like, well, yeah, because I've paid Neumann money, and the resale value, unless I'm going to lie to the person that I'm selling them to, which obviously I'm not, they're fakes, they're worthless, you know? I don't really buy new unless I really have to. However, I recently had to buy some more microphones. After that experience, I just decided, you know, I looked for the mic that I was trying to get, which was a Sennheiser E904, and I just couldn't see one on eBay that I thought looked genuine. I just couldn't see one. I mean, you go on eBay now and type in Shure SM57, like I've said, and you'll just find so many that they're just not right. Like, they just don't look right. And for the price, I just decided it wasn't worth the risk. This is quite nice, by the way. It's only a fairly cheap cymbal, but it's a Sabian B8 Pro, so it's the nicer one, and it's an 18-inch rock crash in pretty good condition. What I'll probably do is sell this separately to the kit itself, I think. So for this lovely Pearl Export kit, and I do genuinely like it actually, I think it's a good little kit. I paid £156.68, and I think that's a really good deal. That's all from me. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Remember, if you'd like to support our work, you can become a channel member where you get access not only to our members only Discord, but also an automatic ticket entry to every single competition that I run on the channel, as well as the bonus competition, which I'm going to tell you about now. As soon as I hit 50 members, I'm currently at about 23 or 24, I'm going to be giving away a full set of Tony Verderosa Sabian V effect cymbals. They're incredibly rare, and I paid over £300 for them only a couple of weeks ago, and I think that was a good deal. I think they're actually worth a little bit more than that. So as soon as I hit 50 members, one of the 50 of you guys are going to win it. There will be no external tickets for this one, so you have to be a member, but it's really, really good fun. We have lots of fun in the Discord. Somebody actually bought a Gretsch kit last week that I shared into the chat, and he'd spent like 1,100 quid on a Monday morning, which is totally my fault. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see some more content from me in the future, and I will see you again on the channel in a fortnight. Bye bye for now.